Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CEO Eiffage Construction, Michel GOSTOLI, along with Head of Sustainable Development, Eiffage Construction, Valerie DAVID.
Mesdames, Messieurs,
ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I have heard in the rich exchanges yesterday a very important message, and this was the role of young people here in Gabon in the development of their country. And so it is a young Gabonese that some of you are familiar with. His name is Henri Walker, and he is the General Director of Eiffage in Gabon. Eiffage. And I would also like to add two things. First of all, I would like to propose a young Gabonese person, and why not one of the young candidates for the Francophonie countries, in order to talk about one of the projects that he is leading, and also to propose to 5 different Gabonese people training through apprenticeships within different companies, as was brought up by the President of Gabon yesterday.
Merci.
Thank you very much.
Depuis maintenant 8 ans,
and for the past 8 years, Eiffage has been developing a model for the digitalization of different villages. And this is a question of a tool for anticipating decision-making for the villages. And some of you have already discovered this in our stand yesterday. And if any of you have not yet had the opportunity to visit our stand, please do so.
Valerie DAVID,
Valerie DAVID, who is the Director of Sustainable Development of our group, and also a recognized expert in Europe in the area of sustainable living, is going to present this tool to you.
Merci Michel.
Thank you, Michel.
Madame la Ministre, Mesdames et Messieurs.
The Minister, ladies and
Le
gentlemen.
21e siècle
The
sera
21st century is going to be the century of the big cities. And since the opening of the New York Africa Forum yesterday, we have 180,000 new cities around the world through the immigration from the company towards the big cities. So 180,000 people per day and 70 million more per year. And this is all going towards the major cities. So all the different capitals, the major cities, and Libreville is an example, are undergoing a very strong attractiveness, of course, with all sorts of challenges which come with that in terms of the environment, in terms of the developing carbon in the atmosphere, the pollution of the atmosphere, and enormous stakes in terms of the production of waste products, and of course the feeding into the cities of electricity and water. And so the tool I'm going to present to you today is a tool that is going to propose and to validate the choice, an innovating choice, before any other choices are made in order to gain time without wasting money. And as said yesterday by the President of Gabon, we have to continue developing and still preserve the forest. In other words, not to have to choose between the two.
C'est exactement donc l'objectif de cette.
So this is the objective of this tool. In other words, if you come to visit our stand, you're going to be able to see a version which has been finalized that we have developed with the Kazakhstan authorities 1 month ago. And here in Libreville, as you can see this is the first version of this tool. You will recognize the city of Libreville. It's been modelized in a 3D model. And of course, you can see this model of the territory. We've done this in agreement with the authorities because in similar cases, you have the same challenges. But for instance, you have different situations in terms of the geographic or cultural conditions. Then once we have diagnostics of the area, we try to look at the best adapted solutions with a systematic approach, and then we integrate these solutions into a digital system. And we have worked on 4 different themes of a sustainable city. First of all, mobility, the urban ecosystem. When we're speaking of an urban ecosystem, we're speaking of the water, the waste products, agriculture, energy, and of course, sustainable development and construction. And of course, the development of the tool is to use the new digital technologies. In other words, it's a video motor, which allows us to see an example in order to understand and intuitively the use that we can make of the different solutions which are being proposed. And the objective, as I said, is going to validate the most efficient investments so that we don't waste money, we don't waste time. And I'd like to remind you that sustainable urban development is, of course, a very important point. In other words, not just technology for technology, but solutions that are very useful, which will improve the quality of life without having a negative impact on the environment. And so I have selected today 2 different solutions, which are mobility, that we're going to call mobility of the carbons, because none of those greenhouse gases, because we do not, for instance, destroy any of the forest area. And also, it is equipped with photoelectric cells for a solar system for energy, and it allows us to transport 6,000 people per hour without any kind of emitting those greenhouse gases. And so now you can see here the trace. You're going to see it on the screen here. And you can see that it will be able to help out in the major axes, for instance, the university, the hospitals, the high schools, the stadium. And here you've got the Triumphant Boulevard, where you have the City Hall of Libreville, and then you have the Senate. And so this particular solution is economically interesting because it's 6 times cheaper than a classical type of land transportation. It is ecologically interesting, and our friends in the United States, they're very much aware of this problem in Manhattan. They already have a tramway that was made by a French company as a partner. And of course, it's the New Yorkers, they like this means of transportation. And of course, even during the major storms, it was the last means of transportation which was disconnected during the major storms that we had during the past winter. And of course, it has been developed and adopted by the Shenzhen city in China. Even in Cairo in Egypt, they're accepting it. In Rio de Janeiro, they have adopted it. They're setting up these lines. In a situation of extreme density in a city, without expropriating anybody, we can go ahead and set up this particular means of transportation where you're going to have access to the mobility for the population. This means that you can have a better integration on both an economic and social level of the entire population of the city. The second solution that I would like to attract your attention to is a solution of renewable energy. In other words, for a city such as Libreville on the coast, the presence of the ocean is really an incredible luck, because you have infinite energy which is free and which is available. And so in the tropical or equatorial environment, all the different buildings are air-conditioned. And so this need for cool air is not going to disappear. It's going to even become more important in the future. And so what is going to be the source of this energy? And what about the polluting effect of all these thousands of air conditioners? Because when we try to analyze the pollution of the environment from these different air conditioners, we are frightened by the greenhouse gases, which are directly correlated to the use of these air conditioners. And of course, they use these refrigerant gases, which are terrible polluters. So we have a very simple solution, which will allow us to go ahead and recuperate those, the cool air from the ocean, and we can bring that cool air right into the buildings and cool the buildings. Now, the system is very simple, and it already functions in numerous buildings in Monaco, where we have already installed this system, and also in the city of Marseille. We're also developing this system. And in this Migo quarter, where we have 20,000 inhabitants, this system can not only inspire the different Mediterranean cities, but all the different African cities, such as in Libreville, where you are right on the coast. And so what we do is we have we can capture that 14-degree temperature, which will allow us to go ahead and cool all the buildings without any kind of energy contribution. This can be modulated according to the specific needs of different cities. For instance, here in Libreville, the water is warmer, and so we have to go further out into the ocean in order to get that 14-degree temperature in the ocean. But how does the system function? Well, we can serve different homes and offices or government buildings without using any kind of energy source. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, a sustainable city is something very important for the Northern Hemisphere and the Southern Hemisphere. It is a social and economic necessity. And so this these digital solutions can give us the most innovating choices, and of course, they can optimize the efficiency. It is a major advance in terms of allowing for these sustainable cities in the future without having to lose any money or efficiency. Thank you.